It's seminar time. For all those that are here and enjoying Frog God Games game days, that's great. It's awesome to have you. I appreciate everybody who's here or everybody that is watching the recording of this. My name is Doug. I'm not a Capricorn. I'm a Sagittarius. What's your sign? Oh, sorry, different video. This video, my name is Douglas Zielsdorf. I am the admin for organized play for Frog God Games, and I'm here to do my very first seminar on that very subject. I'm blessed to have some of the other frogs here in the channel, as well as some of my other organized play GMs, and we're going to talk about what we're doing with organized play. In particular, of note, I asked Mr. Bill Griggs to join us. He's one of our OPGMs doing 5e as well as Swords and Wizardry, so I appreciate having him here. He's in part here to keep me on track and keep me on time, because if anybody knows anything about me, I know how to talk for a very long time. So I have an outline, and I will try and stick to it. But sorry, excuse me. Otherwise, anyone who wants to chime in who's here, yeah, that's great. Ask questions in the chat, and we'll just kind of take this for a whirl. So, as my introduction, tabletop role-playing games have been around since the 70s. And as much as I don't like to say it sometimes, I've got almost 40 years in with role-playing games. I started in 1981, all tabletop before any newfangled technology came around. And it's proceeded like that for a very long time. Now the world has changed and technology has changed, and there has over time developed a lot of other ways that role-playing games can be facilitated, that can be done. They can be done remotely, like we're doing right now, over Zoom or FaceTime, or anything like that, what I consider remote games, where you can still play a tabletop role-playing game, but do it at a distance. Or then there's virtual options like Fantasy Grounds, which I also use for organized play, wherein you are playing in a virtual location, interacting on a virtual table, which I also very much enjoy. Not to say that I don't like playing at the table. I do, and I still do, and I'm looking forward to it. These things have developed over time, and gaming has kind of changed with it. Now then, 2020 happened, and social distancing, lockdowns, and stuff like that had a big impact on a lot of tabletop role-playing, including my own. In early 2020, out here in Colorado, I was playing in a group with Keith Hershey Jr., and he was running 5e D&D locally, and then we couldn't play together anymore. And so we switched to going virtually, which I actually enjoyed. I was playing virtually, not on a tabletop, and he and I were having a conversation, and we said, well, Wizards of the Coast has a Adventurers League. Pathfinder has their own organized play. We're both big fans of Frog God Games, have been since the early 2000s in the old Necromancer days. Why isn't Frog God Games doing this? So we said, well, maybe we should do something about it. And so we did. He and I worked up some initial plans, brought a proposal to Frog God Games. They said, yeah, we like the sound of that. We'd love for you to do that. Now, unfortunately, in the planning stages, Keith had a family emergency that he had to take care of, so he stepped away. I've been talking to him. Hopefully, he's going to come back soon. But he had to drop out, and so I brought on Michael Mars Russell, one of the most organized people that I know, and he and I finished the development of what became Frog God Games Organized Play, and we launched on July 4th weekend of 2020. It was a slow start. People weren't accustomed to it. People go, what is this? We don't understand. And from the people that we knew, the people we were experienced with, we had a lot of tabletop role players that weren't necessarily comfortable with moving to other venues, other formats. But it did take off. And we've developed over the course of the last 10 months, almost 10 months, 9 months. We're having a lot of fun over on Organized Play. And it's constantly changing and upgrading. As organized a person as I think that I am, I'm not as organized as I could be, and that's why I have other people around to help me. And we're keeping on, and that is my opening statement. Bill, did you want to add anything?
No, I mean, I've been playing almost as long as you have. I've started in '83, um, so I'm not quite at the 40-year mark. Um, I was playing online. I started playing online several years before the pandemic. Just my life schedule. It was difficult to find people that could game at the times that I wanted to game.
Mhm.
Um, so it was just easy to find people online to game with, and you know, so I was already kind of used to it. But I've been having a lot of fun with this. Like I said, doing all 5e up till now. I ran a couple of Swords and Wizardry games at the game day here, and looking forward to be running the Lost City of Baracus for organized play here, hopefully in 3 to 4 weeks. That's my goal anyway.
Yeah, nice spoiler for one of my announcements. What we're doing next, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
well, that's okay. You didn't get the memo. But no, that's just it. It's an exciting thing that we're looking forward to, and I'm talking a little later, about stuff that's coming up with organized play. But it's awesome to have you, Bill, have you here, and have you in organized play. You've been one of my go-to people, obviously in 5e arena, since we've gotten going. So just the difference between what we're doing in organized play and other organized plays. I wanted to do something that was organized but a little more casual, because that's kind of the way I like to run games. I like to run things a little more casually. So we've got an organization, but have a little more flexibility to be a little more freeform than something like Adventurers League or Pathfinder organized play. You're not playing and not everyone is not playing the same adventures. There are no seasons involved with this. What we're doing is we grabbed people from the Frog God Games community and asked them to run games for us. And what we're doing is we're running Frog God Games or Necromancer game products, running them in all of the supported systems, Pathfinder 1, Swords and Wizardry, and 5th edition, and running those products or products inspired by them, substantially using Frog God Games material. Like I said, I like a little flexibility in things, both for the games that I run, and GMs like to not be nailed down to something too hardline when running games. So we got some GMs together to set up for all of the various systems. I've got some aspirations to get a few more peripheral systems involved with organized play as we go along. Got them to schedule games and then have people sign up on Discord for that. We're using a variety of platforms. Some people just use Discord because some people are more comfortable with an audio game or audio with some still visuals. Some people will use Zoom. We use virtual platforms like Roll20. I use Fantasy Grounds for 5th edition. And newcomers like Robbie, who's also in the meeting here, is running on Foundry right now, and those games have been very popular. So to present an organized yet casual arena in which people can pick their game, pick their system, pick their GM, and pick their medium of comfort, and then get together and play online. I mean, just for the sake of having fun. And that is really what it all comes down to. We have myself as a GM right now. We have Bill Griggs, who's here. We have Robbie Cunningham, who's also here. William Steffen is running Swords and Wizardry for us. We have John Webb periodically running 5th edition for us. Hopefully, like I said, Keith Hershey Jr. will be coming back to run some games for us. We have Michael Mars Russell, the trooper, running Pathfinder since the Pathfinder 1st edition, since the beginning. We also have Vuro, as also as Jay, is running a playtest of some to-be published Frog God Games material that he also runs games, one of the other features that we have. And so we've got a nice group of people with a very dedicated bunch of participants at this point in time. Our games, tend to fill up and tend to fill up quickly. What we are looking for is we're looking for new people to get involved and increase the demand so that then we have to produce and create more games for more people to be involved and just to grow this thing. And so we have plans for that over the course of the next year, and it's very exciting to talk about. Now, some people, I'm going to do a little screen share here, maybe, even if they get on Discord, they may be uncertain of exactly how to do this. And every once in a while, we have to navigate someone through Discord to how do I sign up and what does this mean? What do all these channels mean? Where do I go? And I tried when I set this up to do it in the most logical way I could think of, but that doesn't mean it is that much less confusing. So what I'd like to do is just take a minute to take a look at the Discord channels relevant to organized play. I can do just a real quick walkthrough on what's there, why it's there, and what new players or existing players, if they're not sure what's going on, could do with it. So I'm going to do a little quick share, screen share here. Make sure I have the right one. All right. Now, if I'm sharing this correctly, people that that are here to assist, we are in the OP channels, correct? You're seeing what I'm seeing?
Yes.
Yes, cool. Thank you. Just so I can talk to myself, but I'm hoping everybody's with me. Okay, everything under OP except for the personal GM channel will always have an OP in front of it. So if you can find organized play and find a channel that has OP in front of it, you're in the right place. Now, OP announcements, all that it is like a welcome to the channel and a basic summary of what to expect from all of this. It's really just promotional. It's a way to open up the Discord channels. OP rules and registration, the next one, is just the general rules for play that we expect people to behave themselves, to be nice, be part of a positive group experience while being involved in organized play. Respect your dungeon, your GM, whatever system that you're doing, and otherwise just be here for the right reasons. There are reactions down there. It asks that people react as at least a tacit acceptance of the rules. We have not had any behavior problems in OP at this point in time. Nothing that's been of any real concern. But this is here just for mechanics. OP registration is a very important channel, which has been pointed out to me, and my copy and paste was bad. And so it came out all staggered like that. I will fix that. I promise I will. It's been that way for a long time. But this is outlining the requirements of what I ask and require of people that are involved with organized play. We've seen a couple of pieces of information just to track who's involved and how we might contact them. So all that we ask from players is that we have your real name, even a version of it, like your first name and your last initial, that we have an email that we can contact you at if necessary, and I've contacted very few people aside from some promotion stuff for game days. I don't, as a rule, contact people through this email. And then your handle on Discord so we can find you, because in a lot of cases, in fact, probably a majority of cases, people are using handles on Discord rather than their actual names, just so we can find you if we need to. And you send that information to the email that is in bold but sort of hidden in this scrambled mess here. It's fgg.op.overlord, that's me, at gmail.com. And upon sending that information to that email, I check that every single day, sometimes multiple times. And what happens then is I assign an organized player role to you, and then that opens up the subsequent channels that will allow you to sign up for games, to contact GMs, talk to other players, all of that kind of stuff. For all of the words that I jammed in there, it's actually a very simple process. Below that is the OP roster. That's more or less just for me. People can see that channel and react to it if they want to. It is just a list of everybody who signed up for organized play, and that's the place where I assign roles. Some people react to it, some people don't. But anyone who's interested, you can see what handles are actually involved in organized play. OP game schedule. This is where we list all of our games. It's gone through a couple of different incarnations. We have a new schedule bot, Apollo, to sign up for games, but it lists all of the current games and at this point in time, all past games. So it's important to check the dates on the schedule to make sure you're not trying to sign up for something that already happened. But this is where all of our games go in our normal format. Some GMs take some latitude with how they want reactions to handle. It will describe the system, the name of the game. Usually we'll have the platform that it's on, a brief description, and then when it happens. And the standard is there's 3 reactions. I've kept it at 3. Some people have said it's a little confusing that we've got 3 of them. But we have accepted, that's signing up for the game. And you click on the, on the reaction itself to sign up for the game. Tentative is if you're not sure if you're available to play, or if the game is full, that serves as a waiting list. And then, if you're on a waiting list, GMs will usually contact people on the waiting list if openings in a game occur. Declined, I left there because one thing that happens with organized plays, rather than being episodic one-shots as a whole, which is originally sort of as I envisioned it, a lot of our GMs like to run series of adventures with continuity, little campaigns in and of themselves. You don't have to be there all the time, but you can be, and that's one of the things. You can continue to play a character in whatever system, keep your progress that you've gained when you play, and advance as that character advances in that system. And if you play the same game all the time, you'll progress in like a normal, what would be a home campaign. I left declined in there just so that people who might normally play in a game regularly that aren't going to make it, I've left it there, and that's sort of like, I can't make it this time kind of thing, and I found that to be pretty handy. And these games, the list gets updated regularly as people post new games or post the next session of a game that is happening. And they get reorganized periodically. We had problems in our early organization where things were just put up and they stayed stagnant. So games that were before other games would be located after them. We can periodically do a sort by date, and so that the latest games down at the bottom of the ones are the furthest ones out, and it's easier to find the games that are upcoming. As a matter of course, below game schedule, we have OP Open Discussion, Swords and Wizardry, OP Pathfinder, OP D&D 5e. These are general text channels that are used for discussing the various systems or for asking questions and making in-the-moment announcements for organized play. This is just a place to sort of narrow down what someone might want to talk about or announce or ask a question about that breaks it down by system. And the GMs are actually quite good on staying on top of those if I get behind on following up on questions. And so that breaks it down just to generally, or if you have something specific about a system in question. Down below that, below those channels, are all the individual GM channels. There are text channels and voice channels. They're specific to all of our GMs, and those are for communications directly between those GMs and either interested or actually signed up players. And so if you want to talk to Robbie about her upcoming game, or maybe you want to see if you've got a spot, I'm really interested in doing that, you can text Robbie in her text channel and try to speak directly to her or to people that are involved with her games. And that's individual to all the GMs. And the voice channels are where almost all of our games are done in Discord for voice as far as that's concerned. So when you're playing a game with a particular GM, you will join that voice channel to do Discord chat with all of those involved, the GM and the other players. So that's a run through of all of those channels. Thank you for tolerating that that diatribe about that, but I wanted to make sure people had a walkthrough in case anyone wasn't certain how the Discord was set up and why it was set up that way. So thank you. Do I have any commentary from the peanut gallery? And that means like, Bill or any of my other GMs that want to chime in at this point in time? No, that's just shaking the head now. Okay, do we have any questions at this point in time? All hail the Overlord. Thank you. From Frog God Games. Getting my due respect. I like to be really relaxed for the most part in games, and while I like to demand my respect when I'm running games, I don't always get it, and people who get to know me well, they start making fun of me. To some running jokes in some of the games that I play in, because I don't just run games and organize play, I play as well. I am the butt of many people's jokes over time as I'm playing in other games, when people feel safe from the wrath of the Overlord. And I try to take it on the chin,
And we give you a hand with that whenever you need one.
That's to keep my ego in check, and I appreciate everybody's involvement in that respect. Now, the kinds of things that we're doing now in the absence... Oh, yep. So OP is indeed free. Nobody has to pay anything for this. It's just you have to jump through that one little hoop of registration to give us some information, and then you are free to go to play any game that is on the schedule. The only exceptions to that is that you do have to follow the rules, which would mean you have to create a character that is organized play legal. That description is usually in the system channels or in the GM channels, because a lot of our GMs are running just one system. Now, soon, Bill Griggs he's been running 5e for me for quite some time, but he also is going to branch out Swords and Wizardry, which would mean you may not find both rule sets in there. You have to create a legal character and abide by the rules of the table. Otherwise, you don't have to pay anything, and generally you don't have to do anything other than show up and be ready to play and have fun and behave yourself. So good question. Good question. Nobody has to pay anything for this. So next on my outline, what are we doing now? What does a typical week look like in organized play? And I said this does change considerably depending upon people's schedules. All the GMs are doing this volunteer. Nobody's getting paid to do this, so this is at everyone's discretion. And as a result, having sort of a loosey-goosey system. As sometimes games will happen and sometimes they won't. I've had to cancel games myself based on, what happens in real life. That's a good question too. So a typical week, I'll get that yet. GMing is important once you want to become a GM. Our typical week is a lot of people run the same game or a sort of semi-continuous campaign on the same day of the week every week. It's not absolute, but the schedule outlines that. For example, on your average Sunday, Bill Griggs is running 5th edition. He's running an offshoot of the Rapin Athic campaign. We're playing in the Tunnels of Terror, a truly old school game, despite the fact that it's 5e. And that's a lot of fun that's happening on Sundays. On Mondays, Robbie Cunningham is running 2 sessions, which, God bless her, running 2 sessions in the same night of Rapin Athic for 5e at the actual dungeon on Foundry. Currently, Tuesdays are fairly open. It's another day I'm looking into as far as adding more games. Right now, Tuesdays are pretty quiet. Wednesdays, usually, Michael Mars is running Pathfinder, and Vuro is running his playtest in 5e for, like I said, some soon-to-be-released Frog God Games material, so he's playtesting it here. I'm actually very excited about the playtest options, just providing some exclusives for players. Thursday, I run my 5e game on Fantasy Grounds. It started with a playtest of Crucible of Freya. I don't know why I couldn't remember that for a second. For Crucible of Freya, which is sort of involved in its own campaign, doing adventures around the area of Fairhill for anyone who's familiar with those adventures, and that's been going on since last summer. Fridays are also a little quiet, but John Webb, when he comes back, Friday has been his normal day. He was running some 5e material that he was looking at potentially writing and producing. Saturdays and Sundays, Bill Steffen has a little looser of a schedule. He's our main Swords and Wizardry GM, and he runs a variety of games, quite ambitiously for Swords and Wizardry, and he varies from Saturday to Sunday based on the availability of his schedule. Now, we've got a question here. What if someone wants to become a GM? Now, yeah, very good question. Our GMs have all been picked in-house from people in the community, people that we know and that we feel can reasonably and properly represent Frog God Games. I picked some of them by hand at the beginning, and we've actually culled a few out of our participants for organized play. And because we don't want too many people to rest on their laurels, and we don't know everybody who's online, interest is outstanding, and we're absolutely interested in having more GMs in all of our systems, and it's something that I'm always looking towards. The one thing that we do ask with our GMs is that they become involved first, become a player first. Let us get to know you. Make a showing on Discord, in various games. Show us your experience, your temperament, your personality. Show us your dedication, because while I can't, in real life comes first. So I can't demand, I can only demand so much from the GMs, because like I said, no one's getting paid for this, so it's all volunteer. But show us that you're willing to commit. And to be involved and to be someone who can run a game on a regular basis and be there to represent, and someone who's going to provide a fun, exciting experience for everybody. The more you get involved, the more attention you draw to yourself, and then expressing interest, that's when you're going to get our attention, and we're going to start picking people out for more GMs. Like I said, we're coming up on our year anniversary soon, a couple of months, and I do want to substantially expand our GMs, but I can't do it in the abstract for someone that just says, hey, I'm interested. I would love to grab people from that, but we'd really like potential GMs to show us first. Show us what you got, and we'll go from there. If you're really impressive, it'll just happen that much faster. Anything, Bill? No? Okay, cool. So we've done what a typical week is. And so we want to represent all of the systems that Frog God Games and Necromancer Games supports. And right now, primarily, that is Swords and Wizardry, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and that's which one did I start with? So we have Swords and Wizardry, Pathfinder 1st edition, and 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I lost my own train of thought there. I would be interested in seeing other things. Swords and Wizardry is starting to take off now. It initially started very slowly, and I think that might have been sort of a factor of the people who tend to play Swords and Wizardry tend to also like to stick with old-fashioned tabletop role-playing. But we're gently ushering people into the new technological age. I would like to see Swords and Wizardry Lite introductory games for Swords and Wizardry. I'd like to see games like that for younger people. To see a younger demographic come in and capitalize on organized play. Bunnies and Burrows, there were some initial conversations with some people about Bunnies and Burrows coming into organized play in the early days, in the organizational days, and it didn't happen at the time. But I can't tell you how excited I was to see PEX running Bunnies and Burrows at game days this time. I want to generate some interest in that and see Bunnies and Burrows run regularly for organized play. The more games that we have, the more involvement we can have. That is the way that we grow. And so I've been taking steps incrementally to make sure we didn't overreach ourselves. But I throw out the challenge to those people out there. Show up, sign up, tell us what you want. If you don't see what you want, and let us know, and we'll see what we can do. I'm here to try and accommodate that, and I want to see it grow. I want to see as many people involved as want to get involved, because I see this, even if we get through, well, when, not if, when we get through the COVID-19, the pandemic, and people get vaccinated, when businesses reopen, when people can get back together, tabletop role-playing will take off again. But that doesn't mean I want to see online play decline, because I think as a whole, it is the way of the future. The world has gotten smaller with the technology. So more and more and more people can get involved despite distance, despite time zones. I was running Mithras Tower Adjacent last night for Swords and Wizardry, my go-to system. I was running it last night. I had somebody from England that was in the game. He had a lot of fun. Said, "Hey, if you're interested in doing some European time zones for organized play, you let me know." I found that very exciting. I want to see that. We are limited a little bit with the time zones in the United States. Sometimes games are run locally according to where people live. So sometimes games that are run by people on the East Coast or on the West Coast, sometimes there can be problems like, this is way too late, or this is way too early for me to play that. That problem gets exponentially larger if we're going to go intercontinental. But I would love to see that. I would love to see that branch out to other portions of the world and see this take off. But I don't want to overreach, so it's one step at a time, one GM at a time, one player at a time, one game at a time, and I have very high hopes for the growth of organized play. Now, what's coming in the future? What do we have in mind for organized play? B&B for life. Yeah, okay, embarrassing moment here. I haven't played Bunnies and Burrows yet, so I need to do that. Just saying, moving on. Coming up, what kind of games that we're running right now? Just a little summary of the kind of stuff that happens in organized play, and this will also help with the kind of stuff that we want to do in the future. What we have is normal organized play games. They are games you make a OP legal character in whatever system. You have that character, you can play it and play it and play it. You keep your experience, you keep your treasure, you keep your magic items, you advance, and you can continue on. You can continue on in one game with one GM. You could switch over to another GM running the same system as long as your character fits within the parameters of the game. That's kind of what we call a standard organized play game. And they don't cross over. You can't play a Swords and Wizardry character in a 5e game or anything like that. But according to the rules, as long as it's legal for the system, it's legal in any game in the system. That's our normal thing. We also like to do one-shots periodically, where it's just you can have pre-generated characters. It doesn't leak over into regular games, but just featuring a game that would just be fun to run. Someone wants to run it. And by one-shot, very few of our games end up in one session, because I've found, especially playing online, that a lot of stuff doesn't get done in your normal 3 to 5 hour game slot. So a lot of games go over the course of multiple sessions. So a one-shot might be something that lasts 3 weeks if it's played weekly, or it might happen in one shot. I will say Michael Mars is again, a trooper, and he tries really, really hard to finish entire adventures in one session. And I know the way I talk and the way that I run games and the way I think about games, nothing gets accomplished in one session. No adventure ever gets done in one session. My average adventure lasts from 3 to 8 sessions weekly. So I have a very campaign approach to it. But otherwise, we do one-shots. I'd like to see us do more of them. Introductory games. People who aren't familiar with certain virtual platforms, or they aren't familiar with certain systems, we want to have intro games for those systems and for those platforms, for people that haven't done this before or haven't done it in this way before, to have them an opportunity to try it out, see what they think, see what they like and what they don't like, and transition them perhaps into more regular games with organized play, or just participation in one-shots. The nice thing about organized play is, while you can get involved into a regular game regularly for long periods of time, as some people did and have been doing, you don't have to play it that way. You can just drop in every once in a while, as long as your character fits within the parameters. You might be doing a one-shot, you might be doing an intro game, or you happen to have a character of the appropriate level in the appropriate system. You can just join this week and then not join next week, and you don't get punished for it or anything. You don't get rewarded for not being around. Attendance counts, but you don't have to. It's you make OP what you want it to be for yourself, and I think that though I'm involved all the time, I think that that ought to be appealing. You don't have to commit if you don't want to. What else do? We do play tests. Like I said, we're always running play tests for soon-to-be published material. I had access to the early 5e version of Crucible of Freya, and I ran that as a play test so people could see stuff in development that hasn't been published yet, and I got a lot of interest in that. I was actually running 2 groups until I sort of inadvertently TPK'd one of them. But that's the way it happens, running games. I won't say that's the first time that ever happened. But I had a lot of people playing that had a lot of fun playing playtest material. That's something that I also want to see more of, and I hope is a selling point. Hey, you've never seen this material or never seen it in this game system before. Here's your opportunity to sign up and get a sneak peek at it. And I like that a lot too. OP exclusives, we don't have a lot of that yet, but it's something that I want to do, and I have some ideas for it. Stuff that you can't do anywhere else. Perhaps games with particular game masters that may or may not be normally involved with OP. Or again, material that perhaps is to be published or isn't going to be published, but you're just not going to see it anywhere else. I want organized play participants to feel like, while they can be involved in a comfortable, regular, just pleasant experience, I also want them to think that, maybe you're a little special, because as far as I'm concerned, you all are special, and you will be special if you join. So hopefully you join. I can bat my eyelashes if I can do that. And then we also have something that I sort of had to coin, because game masters are game masters, and they don't like being necessarily confined by a lot of rules, is that we have things called closed campaigns. What those are is we have GMs that want to run something that doesn't quite fit the established standard for organized play. It still meets the baselines. We're here to support and promote Necromancer games and Frog God games materials, be it the adventures, be it source material, the Lost Lands. I insist that material is set in the Lost Lands, at least, you know, at least a little bit, so we have the references, because there's a whole gaming experience to be had with Frog God games these days, and it includes the setting, it includes rule variants, it includes new magic, new monsters, all of that kind of stuff. So, but it doesn't quite fit into something that organized play. For example, we insist when people are playing regular games of organized play that you start at first level. Well, some people want to start an adventure where you have to start at like 5th level or something like that, and you go from there. Now, I have no problem with that happening, only it does violate some of the rules of organized play. So what those become is those GMs are running a closed campaign where it has its own self-contained set of rules and alternate standards for how things are run. But that means that all of the stuff that happens in that campaign stays in that campaign, and it's not something that transfers over from one game to another, from one GM to another. Other than that, I haven't really gotten to what's coming up, but I want to you know, to expand everything in every system. I want to add more systems. We are in conversations with well, I am due for a conversation with Matt Finch at some point in time, who's written the Swords and Wizardry rules, who runs Mithras Tower events like I do and like Bill Webb does at conventions and other special events like game days, where it's a Swords and Wizardry ongoing campaign that happens in person or virtually these days, but it's an ongoing campaign that has been coined disorganized play. And in the early days, we were going to call this disorganized play, but the rules don't exactly jive between organized play and disorganized play, so the two have remained separate. But at some point in time, I'd like to have a conversation with Matt Finch and find a way to reconcile any differences there, so that there can be a version of Mithras Tower online connected directly to organized play, which would open up a lot more opportunities for play for those people who enjoy Mithras Tower events, which I very much enjoy running and enjoy playing in, and it seemed to be wildly popular with the population as a whole. So, for anybody else who is here, do we have any other questions? Anything that any of other OPGMs would like to add? Because I have managed to talk for like almost 40 straight minutes. No? Are there any questions? Anything else that I can address? We were scheduled for about 45 minutes. We're at about 37 minutes right now. I mean, I can continue to talk. I do have the ability, and I do actually have a beverage that I can wet my whistle.
Do you think there will eventually be in-person events?
Oh, I am so glad that question came out. That is the hope. Once all of the social distancing and the lockdowns and stuff like that are gone, there has been conversations about taking organized play to events. Now, how we're going to facilitate that is going to be very complicated, but it would start once organized play GMs can start going to conventions. I would start talking to them, and we would start hosting in-person events that, as long as they follow the rules of online organized play, yes, we would do in-person stuff. I would start doing in-person stuff when I go to conventions, and there would be, right now, because there's that discrepancy between disorganized play and organized play, they'd initially have to be separate, but I hope they come together. Yes, absolutely, I would love to see them in-person events, and that would also be an excellent way to screen more GMs that could do in-person events, and then we have to figure out a system where people can report who did what when, so that there can be an official place where that's cataloged, so we can, you know, keep people honest. Not to say that gamers aren't honest, but, you know, nobody's perfect. And yes, very, very much would like to do in-person events when we have the opportunity to do that. I may very well be going to North Texas RPG Con this summer, and I'm definitely going to be going to Gamehole, and by the time that I make it to an in-person convention, I want to have some version of that worked out, so that that will also be an option. Great question. Are there games available if I can only play once a month? You can play in any game that you want. And initially, when I brought GMs in, I wanted to make sure we had a proper representation, so that people had options to play. So I tried to strong arm people into scheduling weekly games. That's not an absolute necessity. Some people might only run every other week, and we can look into options where someone can only play once a month. Because we want people to just be involved. I mean, please, if you only play once a month, come on in and play once a month. The only restriction to that being whatever you end up doing, whatever you end up wanting to play, whatever you end up wanting to do, whatever game you sign up for, you do need to have a character that is OP legal and appropriate for the game in question. If you've never played before and the only game that you can sign up for in a given month is for characters that are 3rd to 6th level or something like that, unfortunately, it's technically against the rules. We discourage it, but also our GMs are very accommodating. If you happen to show up and I'm only going to be able to play once, we don't like to turn people away. I don't know of anybody who's been, no, absolutely, no, don't play, you can't play. Nobody likes to do that. We don't do that here. We want to be as inclusive as possible, as accommodating as possible. So we want people to be involved anytime that they can be. And we'll do everything we can to make that happen. Do we have anything else? Anybody else?
Hey, Doug.
Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in. I have people that sign up for my games. Like, there's one guy that plays in a regular Sunday game every once in a while, and he can come in sometimes. It's never a problem for me to fit someone in. It's not. It works a little differently than maybe a regular home campaign or whatever. So it's showing up once in a while is not a problem for me. I know. I don't think it's a problem for you either. But
no, as a matter of fact, my Thursday game has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger as new people are like coming in, and like I'm trying to figure out ways to. I have to figure out ways to branch off pretty soon because I end up with 8 people in Fantasy Grounds, and there are 10 characters floating around. But I would always prefer to have to find a response to having too many players than too few. Thank you, Bill. Anything else? Anything from our other GMs? Robbie, did you want to chime in? If you don't, you certainly don't have to. Just appreciate having you be here. Robbie is one of our newer GMs, and she's got very popular games on Monday. Rap and Ethic always draws people. So I'm very happy to have all of my GMs. I appreciate them so much. They take so much work off of my hands.
there's a question in chat. What have been your favorite adventures to run so far? For myself, I'm having a lot of fun with Tunnels of Terror. It's just, the people haven't even gotten to the really nasty parts of that yet. And I'm excited to see what people can come up with. And of course, I'm really looking forward to running Swords and Wizardry. So haven't run that yet here. So that would be it for me.
Awesome. I really enjoyed, because it was one of my earliest ones. I ran the playtest for 5e Crucible of Freya. It was obscenely long and obscenely difficult, and I inflicted just numerous casualties on the player characters, and most everybody took that pretty well in stride. That was a lot of fun to do, and actually, as an offshoot, because I sort of set the precedent for people doing stuff that isn't just published Frog God Games material, I worked up an adventure of my own called Vortigern's Reach, which anyone who's familiar with the whole Crucible of Freya or Wizard's Amulet adventure, Vortigern was a peripheral villain in the course of that story. And I just came up with a thought in the course of running the early adventures and getting ready for Crucible of Freya. What would happen if Vortigern just got away? What was Vortigern's story? What was his actual objective, his goal? What would happen if things didn't turn out the way everybody hoped? And I ran with that and ran an adventure that I made myself. It was set in to keep myself, honest. It was set in the Lost Lands. I was using Frog God Games monsters. I was introducing new spells. And keeping it true to the original. It's like an intermediary piece between the Wizard's Amulet and Crucible of Freya. I just kind of shoved this little side adventure in, and I had a lot of fun doing that too. So so far, those two have been my favorites. Well, I think we're getting pretty close to time. Yes, thank you all for joining us, the people that are here, and I hope everybody enjoys game day. Jump in those, fill in those empty slots, and enjoy your games. I really appreciate having people here, and for those watching it afterwards, hopefully you were involved in game days. Hopefully you'll get involved with organized play. If you have any questions that haven't addressed, anything you're not sure of, feel free to let us know. Message us at Organized Play on Discord, and we want to help out. We want to get people involved. We want them to have a positive experience. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. Hopefully I didn't bore anybody too terribly much. But very happy to be here, and very happy to everyone who is attending and watches this in the future.